Be another very lively discussion. I should pause and say happy Labor Day to all workers in Barbados and across the Caribbean and in the diaspora. Indeed, that's probably one of the reasons we're all here, because somebody labored before. We have an all-female panel this evening, apart from me as moderator, of course. 3 young candidates for the Democratic Labour Party. On my immediate left is Malissa Howard, who is contesting the Christchurch West Central seat for the Democratic Labour Party. On my immediate right, the lady of the hour, so to speak, Miss Felicia Dujon, who is in the middle of battle in St. James North. And we will be obliged to say something about St. James North this evening. And to Felicia's immediate right, Dr. Dawn Marie Armstrong, who is contesting the St. Michael North seat. Let me explain that we're probably all tired. We spent the entire day in St. James North campusing, and I'm not bashful about saying to you that we wore these clothes today. So we're a very tired panel, but we feel that it is our duty to reach out by the show to the Barbadian public, of course, the Barbadian public here and in the diaspora. I want us to look at young women in politics as a general topic this evening. But since I told you that we were in the field, and by that I mean we were across St. James North today doing our canvas, and we had an excellent turnout of the members of the party. We would have numbered about 50, yeah. 50, probably 1 or 2 more. We did a canvas last Saturday as well, and large numbers. The party is really rallying around Ms. Dujon to ensure that democracy finds its way back into the parliamentary and governmental life of this country. So I want to ask a fairly general question, since Felicia may be the most tired among us. I will let her go third and ask, Melissa, do you want to go first? Good. Melissa has volunteered to tell us how is it going on the campaign trail. In fact, I should say that Melissa has been with Felicia much of this week. I go to my office and then I meet them in the afternoon. And there is Melissa showing solidarity with Felicia and, of course, Capital Beck, who is a staunch member of the party. I meet up with the 3 of them and house to house. But I'll let Melissa speak about the experience. What has been canvassing like so far?
Okay, so far we've been to several areas in the constituency. We've been to Roadview, Bar Road. Yesterday we've been in Lower Carlton. Today we've been in Mullins. And we've been in the area of Trent today. The reception thus far has been great. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback so far. The constituents are very willing to engage us in conversation and allow us to know what are the issues and problems that they are experiencing in the constituency. We've been hearing a lot of complaints about the roads in the constituency. Today, we heard about flooding in the area. Another issue was the community center not being available in the area of Trent. It has been closed down for a very long time. Environmental issues. So a lot of the young people in the constituency have absolutely nothing to do on evenings. So there have been a couple of constituents that have been complaining that the absence of the community center is causing the young people to be pretty much lost. They have nothing to do. So they end up living on the block.
This is a Trent portion of the constituency.
Yeah, close to St. Albans School as well, right, in that area.
Okay. Dawn, I think you were there all of the day with us. Your impressions of
I think
canvassing?
generally it's been really positive. I I do feel
Positive for Felicia?
Felicia, definitely. I do feel we have the opportunity to make history at this point in time. Because the seat has not been represented by a DLP candidate, well, has not been won by a DLP candidate for many years.
Since 1986.
Yeah, and I definitely do feel like now is the time. The voice from the people has been very good. And this isn't just within this community, but obviously, last week in Leuven, it was also on the height of positivity. What I find to be most interesting is the fact that persons are asking for public meetings and letting us know that they will be willing to facilitate the public meetings. So I do feel like even as I went out to Mullins, because we cover Mullins in the evening, and to hear people say, "Oh, he's already been here," that was good. So we got the chance to then touch houses again, to reinforce the support. And I definitely do feel that this campaign will not happen on social media. I think people are tired of the optics.
Yes.
I do feel that people really want to see democracy restored in the country, and they do see Felicia as that beacon, that compass, the moral compass that the country needs at this point in time, particularly because, it feels as if Barbados is no longer our own. And I think this is our time to reclaim our country and our democracy, and I do feel Felicia will be the sword
Yes.
in the arms of the Democratic Labour Party.
Yes. Let us take this opportunity to say that the head of our canvassing team is Mr. Hartley Reid. Very serious young man, those of you who know Hartley. And we want to express gratitude to Hartley for the manner in which he has taken on the task of marshalling his troops and ensuring that this canvassing is going well. Felicia Dujon, you have so much to say about canvassing, I'm sure. I'll tell you, we went to Roadview this evening, and I did not know you had done parts of Roadview. I met you in Lower Carlton this week, and I met you in different areas of the constituency. We're not going to our viewers yet. Just give us a chance for our introductions. But your early impressions of canvassing, the constituency, tell us how it is going for you.
Well, I wish to thank everyone here, because I think with the support of everyone, including the party, our supporters, I think it would not have been what it is today. So I need to humbly thank everyone, and thank you for being there. Thank you for interacting with the constituents, because this is important. But most importantly, I have been in the constituency not only to gather their support, but also to understand what they're going through, the everyday lived experience, because they have been under a government, under administration and representative for the past 7 years or 12 years in some cases. So I think the reason for me wanting to go as quickly as I can, and quickly meaning that I want to touch every constituent. And I know that they have said that I've already been there because, I have very small legs, but I walk very quickly as well. But at the same time, I try as much as possible to meet every constituent. And it is part of my advocacy work that everyone has a concern. And I want to ensure that that concern is met, and that concern is also raised upon their behalf. The intervention is necessary and it is needed. I am not going to take it for granted that someone from our party has already visited a house. I want the constituents to get to know who Felicia Dujon is. It's not just an advocate. It's not just a name. It's not the same lady that fought for children's rights and school rights as well, the right to education, but also who Felicia Dujon is, because the claim that all politicians are the same, it's sometimes flawed, because I think it's important that you get to know the individual. And I met a lady, and I met many constituents that have said they have never met a politician before. They have never, and that was fascinating to me. She said she's lived her entire life. She knows when election comes. But I am the first person after, I think she's in her 60s or 70s, she's never met a politician. And I felt remarkable, because I was like, well, this is great, because you're meeting a female politician for the first time. So that is another way to open the doors for women in politics, because I think we need to encourage that idea that if we have women that play very important roles in society. We are mothers, we are teachers, we're police officers, we are fire women, we are fisher folk. We are all sectors of society, yet still we are very limited women in politics. And I think myself being the first woman to run in the constituency is history in and of itself. And I feel honored to be that woman to do that with the Democratic Labour Party flag and platform to serve the people of St. James North.
Okay. In fact, I wanted to say to you, Felicia, listening to you, that, and let me say a special hello to, I'm not going to mention the neighborhood, but to Cecilia. It was Cecilia or Celine?
Celine.
Celine and Heather.
Yes.
I'm not going to call the whole name. I saw them yesterday. I was walking with you in that neighborhood, and they wanted to have a chat with me. And then they said, where is she? I want to see her. You were down the street. And I called you up there where we were. But what I want to talk about, ladies like 40 and up are really taken to you. And sometimes it looks even maternal to me.
It is.
Perhaps because you're not the tallest person in Barbados.
Yes,
They seem to want to adopt you as their girl.
yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about what seems
Well, I
to
have
be emerging as a special relationship between
because
you and the ladies in the constituency,
it is-
including the young teacher today.
Yes, I think we need to remember as Barbadians are very kind and loving individuals. And that's why I've always felt at home here.
Mhm.
For the very first time I came to Barbados, I felt at home because everyone embraced you in love and care.
Mhm.
And I've always felt that. So the minute I meet, especially the elders, the older women and men, when they meet you, there's that embracement. They want to hug you, they want to advise you, they want to guide you. And I always say that quite a lot. I grew up around elders. I grew up around old people, more or less.
Mhm.
I grew up in a church. I grew up around nuns and priests. So
Mhm.
there's always that element of respecting your elders. So when you meet an elder, you immediately humble yourself.
Mhm.
And it's the same with children. I met children. I gave a little girl my flyer. She took my number and she's been calling me.
Really?
So throughout the day, she's been calling me, where are you? Where are you? What are you doing? So it's not just only the adults that I've met. I've met children that come and want my number, want my contact, and also the youth. I think what is very important that I have met young persons that have never voted before. They do not see a need for voting. And in speaking with them, I try my best to educate them the reasons why you should vote.
Mhm.
Because it's a sacred right. It's something that is sacred to you, and no one can take that from you. And as long as we have it, we should exercise that democratic right and freedom, because this is what you're doing. And so the young men, and I have to say that the majority of times we find young men and we say, well, the youth not working, they just want to be on the block. The majority of young persons I met in the constituency, they're not there for handout. They don't want anybody giving them anything.
Mhm.
They want skills. They say, Mom, I just want to have a little skill. I can do some work. I can paint. I can do carpentry. They want a place where they can do some skills. And the reality is that they informed me that the current candidate was in the constituency for quite perhaps a year, and not much has been done. I mean, you've been there for an entire year. Those concerns should have raised some kind of interest. And I think that's what it is for me, that though I have similar concerns from constituents, everyone has a story. And I have taken the time to listen to that story, because every story is important. Every life is important
Yes.
for me. And that's why I walk so quickly to find every home, and I find every home and every area that I can.
Yeah, sometimes we have difficulty catching up with you. But I wanted to, you mentioned growing up in the church. I suspect you did not know that would lead into the next topic that I want to touch here. We have Malissa here.
Mhm.
Melissa grew up in rural Barbados and contesting in a very urban constituency.
Mhm.
Dawn, I think, grew up in urban Barbados and is contesting in a very urban constituency as well. I want to talk about growing up. And I think the public is entitled to know who is Melissa Howard. You may have said it in an earlier program, but let us remind the public. Who is Melissa Howard? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? rude to ask the lady her age, but you're a public figure and you're going to tell the
My
public
age.
of Barbados your age.
Okay.
Yes. Growing up in Barbados, where in Barbados?
I grew up in Guinea, in St. John. I still live there.
Yeah.
I went to school at St. Giles Primary, then on to Queen's College. Like you said, I've been a part of the church community from
Which
young.
church is this?
Messiah House in St. John.
A few weeks ago, you were here quoting the Bible. Very impressive.
Yeah,
It has stayed with you.
yeah. I don't go to church as often, but I still read my Bible, still pray
Do you?
often. Yeah, I do. I still have my relationship with God.
Mhm.
I played cricket and table tennis for Barbados. I don't play anymore, but
I
I
can't get you to talk about that.
no
Batsman, bowler,
all rounder.
all
I
around it.
batted at number 3, open sometimes.
For Barbados.
Yeah,
How many years you played for Barbados?
probably about 8 years, I think.
Now, you're running in a constituency with lots of men
Mhm.
who still have not accepted women in cricket. Trust me on that one. So I want you to tell them that you play cricket for Barbados. And you played something else for Barbados.
Table tennis.
Table tennis.
Mhm.
You can bat better.
I can. Most definitely.
Okay. All right. That pretty much says who Melissa Howard is to the people of Christchurch, West Central. We're going to go to Dr. Dawn Marie Armstrong,
Yeah,
who I think played some cricket for Barbados as well.
I did.
Uh, but you grew up in urban Barbados.
Yeah, but I wanted to take the time to just kind of reassure Felicia that she is a Barbadian in every sense of the word. I don't
Okay.
ever want her to internalize this belief that she's an outsider.
No.
And she shouldn't be,
No, not at
No.
all.
running in
No.
Barbadian politics.
Thank
and
you.
I've seen a lot of it. So you are a Barbadian.
Thank you.
Yes.
By all means,
Yeah.
you've lived here long enough. You've spent most of your adult life here. So don't ever feel over the next 2 weeks that you're any less of a Bajan than any of us. All right.
Thank you.
Most definitely. I thought I would use the time
You
to
felt
say
that you had to do that. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. That is
you
a
know,
moral question that
because
must be
we
resolved.
migrate and go all over the world, and I
Precisely.
know what it is to be in someone else's country and to be
Right.
made uncomfortable,
Yes.
from being in someone else's country. No matter how much you invest, you live, you pay taxes, So no, you deserve this seat just as much as anybody else. And I hope that I am there to see you cross the finish line.
Excellent.
on May 21st.
That's the quality of support that is being expressed among these young ladies.
Definitely.
They have coalesced around Felicia to
Yeah,
ensure that we capture this St. James seat. You grew up in
yeah,
St. Michael, I believe,
yeah, Bashar
and you
Barbados.
and right, and we want to hear about Bashal Barbados. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Wesley Hall.
Wesley
primary
Hall?
school. Yes, Wesley Hall.
That's my
primary
boys' school.
One of the best primary schools in Barbados.
I went when it was
Thank
a boy,
you
when
very
it was
much.
Wesley Hall boys.
No, I went when it was primary.
Okay.
But still one of the best schools. I love their social media presence as well. So I'm quite proud to see them, dominating this
This is
space.
Wesley Hall on King Street.
Definitely. Wesley
I'll
Hall
tell the
on King
public.
Street.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for sure. I then left and went to the Commonwealth School from 1999 to 2006.
Oh, you're one of those.
Oh my goodness.
Up and on. Don't say up and on, please.
I'm not that happy, so you don't have to worry about me,
So you don't do the up and on thing.
Well, coincidentally, our colors are
Are
Commonwealth
you-
colors.
Blue-
So I get to rep wherever I go
Uh-huh.
for my alma mater and my party
Mhm.
and my country as well. So
Yeah.
I find myself to be quite privileged in that regard. So yeah, from Bashal, it was really a case where, I saw females in politics from the time I was growing up. I won't mention who
No,
my MP
but
was.
so Combermere. Tell us about Combermere. Combermere back in the. I know y'all hate me to talk about the old days, but
Mhm.
Combermere was one of the male domains back in the 60s, 70s,
Yeah,
probably the 80s as well.
right.
What was the Combermere experience like?
For me, it was good. I think I really,
As a girl,
yeah.
how did you adjust? Was it that very male domain, or by the time you went, it was?
No, by
fully
1999,
co-ed,
it was a
culturally.
co-ed school.
Yeah, I know, but
Culturally-
culturally, you didn't feel as if a lot of boys
Mhm.
who went to Queen's College used to be teased and say, "Ma, you going to a girls' school?"
Oh,
You were never teased as a girl about going to Combermere.
no,
It felt like home for you.
yeah, and I was very tomboyish. I was playing cricket, probably one of the only girls
Oh,
in junior
let's talk
school
about that.
playing
When did this cricket career
So-
begin?
Strangely enough, I don't know if many people can remember, but I think Combermere and St. Michael's played one of the first female girl matches, one of the first female cricket matches. I believe I was in second form, so that would have been about 2000. Under
Really?
the
What
under the
form
care
were
of
you in
Robbie
then?
Esther, second form.
Second form.
Yeah.
Your cricket career started in second form.
Yes, I was class 4.
You
really.
learn cricket at home or at Combermere?
I learned cricket at Wesley Hall.
West
Yeah,
strong cricket tradition.
yeah, most
there too.
definitely. PE teacher then. Gosh, his name always eludes me. I could see the face as clear as day. Haven't seen him in quite a few years, but he was the first person. Actually, I probably would have made a show in Herman Griffith had they not, kept girls out.
Yeah, I was
would have
about
been
to
one-
ask about
I
that.
probably would have been one of
because-
the first girls.
Did you encounter this attitude of what's she doing playing cricket? This
Yeah,
is for
It
boys.
wasn't that so much. So it was as if they didn't want me to get hurt.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
protective.
Yeah.
Okay.
In class 4.
The teachers or the boys that you were
The
playing
teacher, most definitely. My
Oh.
PE teacher at the time.
with? Okay.
I want to say his name is Mr. Clark, but I don't believe that's the name. But he was critical in initiating me playing. But Roddy Essett was the one that developed my skills. Really
At
honed my
Combermere.
skills At Combermere.
Mhm.
He allowed me to train with the fellas. I was a bowler, so obviously I got to bowl a lot, not bat.
Yes,
Again.
yes.
For safety reasons. But yeah, so I came up all through school being quite tomboyish, coming school, dropping on your bike, going on the hard court, running around with the fellas.
But why cricket? I mean,
Um,
when you started playing, did you not see cricket as something for the boys and something that did you not
No.
feel that you were invading male space?
No, I did
You did
not.
not. You felt
I
it was
never,
fine and safe for a girl to play
for me,
cricket.
I don't think I was very well aware of gender.
Oh, I
I think well
see.
into my late teens, it
Mhm,
was just,
mhm.
what you saw fun.
Mhm.
PE was for
Right.
us to keep fit. It was never I'm too girly. for
They had
this, I'm too
netball
girly for
there?
that. They did, I believe.
And you never played netball.
Didn't like it, no.
You didn't like it.
Mm-mm.
Cricket, you like.
Love cricket.
Oh, I see.
Definitely.
Like Malissa, you played for Barbados. Don't be shy in here.
Yeah, that's fine.
As
That's
a
what I did.
Fast bowler,
Opening bowler, yeah.
opening bowler.
Mhm.
How
One of
many-
the fastest in the region at the time.
Uh-huh,
So two polar opposites. I can let you know.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Melissa was a star batsman. You're a
Yeah.
star. Y'all played together. at some point,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
said?
we did. Yeah.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
What a team.
Mhm.
And here they
Yeah,
are.
they're here as
Yeah.
candidates for the
Yeah.
Democratic Labour Party.
Yeah.
So you're in the same team again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and canvas together today
Yeah.
with Felicia.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Felicia, you mentioned church, and you just mentioned it in passing. You're Catholic,
I am.
Anglican,
I'm a Catholic.
Catholic.
Yes.
Most are.
Most solutions are
Yeah,
Catholics.
yeah. And you still attend Catholic church
Of
in
course,
Barbados?
yes.
Which
Of
one are you
course,
at?
the one in Black Rock.
Oh,
Yes.
who is the priest there?
We have had several priests in there.
presently.
Yes. I'm not sure if he has moved, but the last priest that I knew was Father Omar. He did some.
Mhm.
I used to go to St. Dominic's before,
Oh,
so that I moved there because St. Dominic's is in Hastings.
yes.
So I have
Maxwell.
got, yes, please. Church has its role in human development.
Mhm.
I think everyone has some kind of, in some way, they would want to have some kind of connection to something higher or supreme,
Mhm.
that kind of connectivity. And so for me, church is more than just going to church and doing the various rituals, whether it's through your communion, Eucharist, or anything of that nature, but more than that, because there are times or moments when there's no one around and it senses you.
Mhm.
This is where you connect with the spiritual space.
Mhm.
You connect with someone greater than you. I was saying that today, that there are times we walk so much, I can feel my legs. And I said, God, you have to take over. Because physically, I could not do it, but I know I had to
Today.
do it. There were certain houses, I could see the houses,
Mhm.
and I wanted to go, but I just couldn't. And I said, we have to go. We have to go. And I think there are times that your religious background and your religious strength comes in, particularly when it comes to the work that you're doing, because politics is not about us. It's about caring for people,
Yes.
caring for God's children, and it's a calling. And I see it as that.
But you're doing this while being a mother. You have two cute little fellas. You
Yeah.
brought one and he played the cricket game with us.
Yes, and he loved that.
4 and 8, I think.
Yeah, I have a son. I have two sons,
Two
4
sons,
and
4 and
8.
8.
Yes. So, and I think
So you are a mother.
I am a mother.
And these two ladies,
Are mothers
daughter,
as well.
yeah,
Yes,
daughter, and
yes.
Dawn has a daughter as well, who
Yes.
she's always on Facebook with.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yes, yes,
My friend
yes.
enjoys.
How is it being a mother in politics? You're talking about time. How is it going for you, Melissa?
Felicia said it best on the last show when she said there is no balance, and there really isn't a balance. For example, this week, I went home last night.
Mhm.
Haven't seen my daughter. She was sleeping. I left home this
Wow.
morning. She was still asleep. And when I get home tonight, she'll probably be still sleeping. So this would be, what, probably 2 hours or so that she has not seen mommy. She hasn't spent time with mommy. So
But it can be done
it can be, yeah.
because there had been this stereotype in politics that women must not have children. They must not have a family life. What's your view on that, Dawn?
It's funny.
Can a female politician be a mother and a wife?
Yeah, I think so. I think we could be anything we want to be.
Right.
What I think is
Because there are a lot of men who seek to exclude women from politics on that basis. They say, look, you should be looking after children. How do you respond to that?
I would say if we have the capacity to look after children and look after home, we have the capacity to lead a nation.
Excellent.
You know? So
Excellent.
for me, it is interesting because my daughter, unlike Malissa, is always ready to question me. So even today, you know, I came in from canvassing, showered, going, Mommy, you're going out again?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Politics group. She said, what's politics? I'm like, it's when you vote for somebody. What's voting? You know, what's the shit? She doesn't give me a break. And I generally think she's a very understanding child, but rightfully so. I've been aware for a better part of about 2 years of her life with the studies and living in the UK.
Mhm.
You know, I wasn't her primary caregiver for a very long time.
Yes.
So I think she's grown accustomed to me, you know, just being away at certain
Mhm.
times. And I do get help. She does have a nanny that we engage at times, and her father is very hands-on with her care. So I'm very fortunate in that regard.
So being a mother does not disqualify a lady from being a politician.
Absolutely,
Absolutely
not.
not.
No.
But
I think it enhances it.
You do.
You're more caring of the individual. You listen more. You're more attentive to the needs of the individual, to the constituency. You put in a little bit more effort because when you're speaking to the constituents, you imagine yourself speaking to your children
Right.
and what their needs are. So you put in a little bit more effort as a mother.
It's interesting.
I think it's a flawed argument to say that women aren't capable. And I think it's historically you would see that women were not allowed, not only in politics. Mothers were not allowed in any field,
Mhm.
whether it's the sciences, whether it's religion. Women were not permitted in those fields because of what was said about women,
Mhm.
that women do not have the rational capacity.
Mhm.
So because we're too nurturing and we're too emotional. And one of the things that I want us to look at, if we're going to make those comparisons, when we are out canvassing, the man doesn't have to think, or the male doesn't have to think, or the male politician doesn't have to think, okay, what am I going to cook at dinner, or anything of that. He just has to show up.
I don't even.
And these are the kinds of areas that you need to do that. Well, everything else, because then you have to think, because women are usually the primary caretakers. So we have to take care of the family and everything else. And what is also interesting is how women are supposed to dress in the political space.
Let us come to that.
Uh,
Let us go to the board first. Hold that thought,
Okay.
Felicia. Who is the board reader today? That's you, Dawn?
Yeah, it could be.
Or Melissa? Yes, Dawn, you're closer to the board.
Felicia, we cover you in our prayers. No worries. God has your back. Amen.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Amen.
Give credit, please. That's
Thank
Brenda Seeley.
Brenda
Brenda,
Seeley,
thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've
Thank
been
you.
getting a lot of that. We've been getting a lot of that on the campaign. People who are religious are always telling us they're praying for us. I interrupted you, Felicia.
Well, not only that you're praying for us, we had two set of persons prayed for us yesterday.
Oh, wow.
They stopped and
Really?
yes, and they
When you went to do
yeah,
at their house?
yes,
Yeah.
on the street.
Really?
Yeah,
Male or female?
female. A
Female,
group
both
of
female.
elders, yes, they stopped and prayed for us.
Like,
And-
how did you feel about this?
It is
Grateful?
it's a community, it's a village.
Yeah.
And this is what a village should be doing, giving that sense of encouragement. So whatever that, because the reality is that when you go to certain houses, persons will tell you, well, I'm not interested in politics, or I'm not going to vote for you. That's okay. But what I want persons to understand is that we are still human beings and we're still
Right.
live in this community. We still live in this society.
So you can relate to them
So
beyond
that,
politics.
of course, and you
Yeah.
should, because they're human beings.
Yes.
And we have the responsibility to take care of everyone in the constituency, regardless of what political
Exactly.
affiliation that
Yes.
you have. Because for me, it's a democratic right. I'm not going to tell somebody, well, you must vote for me. No,
Exactly.
it's your right to choose who you wish to vote for. But what I can say to you is that I am offering myself as a possible candidate. So you have the ability to navigate and see what positions or which persons that you'd want to support. And I think that's what I've been saying a lot to the constituents, that when you look at a candidate, you don't only look at whether you like the person or not, or whether, because some persons will vote for male and some persons will not vote for female.
Mhm.
What is important is the position that the candidate takes. So you have someone and they're part of a government, look at the positions that the government has taken and why that person who is their candidate is supporting that position. And I think that is what is very important in terms of the support. So yes, you have that candidate that's coming with the government. Ask the question, is that candidate supportive of all the policies and positions that this government are taking, or is he taking a different approach? Because if he's supporting the government, it tells you that he's part and parcel of that same
Yeah.
cycle of
Wrongdoing.
wrongdoing. I don't want to say the word, but wrongdoing, and also the idea of not listening to the voices of the people, just doing things the way that they want to do it without consulting the public. And it's very interesting. But I was going to tell you about in terms of the dress, and I have an interesting joke. I was walking around, just being a female, I have my dress. I mean, women can wear whatever they want. And somebody,
That is very interesting. I'm going to hold that for a few minutes off.
Sure.
Being female
Sure.
in politics.
Sure.
Let me ask all three of you, when did you first discover that you were
Oh.
interested in politics? Dawn, we're coming.
I tell people all the time. I told you this.
So tell this part,
Yeah,
tell
you
this
did.
audience.
Again.
When did you first discover this interest in politics, that you wanted to be a candidate, a politician, a parliamentarian?
2008 to 2009.
What event was this that
My guild
fired your
election.
interest?
I was the only female
Guild election
contestant,
at
yes.
UE, here at
At
UE?
UE, yeah.
Really?
I won
What post were you contesting?
Games Committee Chairperson
Ga-
for sports.
What else? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, again, I was influential
You
in
won?
getting. Yeah, I won. I was GCC for the
Okay.
year, and I felt at the time.
Landslide?
I wouldn't say landslide. There were 4 other male candidates, just about 3 other male candidates. So
The
I was
lady
only
beat-
female, yeah.
So you used
But I
to
can't
this?
work hard. I mean, I work hard. I work in social humanity. I even went up in law to get some votes. And shirts and the whole work. So I eventually won. But I felt at the time.
What made you contest that election? Do you
Because
remember?
I've just always been. It's funny because most of my life, and I tell people this, people hid behind me most of my life. There's always is like, if something has to be said, you get Domry to say.
Really?
So yeah. So it's always been, get Domry to
Yeah,
say.
but Domry.
I was always the one to
The
be
advocate.
chosen
Yes,
to
to
represent
represent.
people
Great.
to speak up.
And
I
this
guess
is from what age?
From
That
a
you
very
discovered that
young
people
age.
would get behind you, get down there to say.
From a very
Primary
very
school,
young
secondary
age. I
school?
would say secondary. I was very shy at primary school. Very
Also secondary at Combermere.
at Combermere, yeah. Very became very
So the
outspoken.
politician was born at Combermere then.
Really, she was, to
Yeah.
be fair. And when it came time to, being the guild rep, I'm running for the position, I felt, and you always have to feel that you are the best person capable of doing
And
the
you
job.
felt that way.
Yeah, and
you
it's the
wanted-
way that I feel
You
about
accorded
sports,
confidence. You
definitely.
felt you were the best candidate.
Best
And
candidate.
you behaved like the best candidate.
Felt that I had a lot to
Because
offer
that's
for
important.
sports.
Belief,
Mm.
self-belief.
Yeah, had a lot to offer to sports on campus, and
Mhm.
I felt that I did a lot. We had, believe it or not, we had access to a sizable amount of money
Mhm.
at 2021.
Mhm.
My treasurer was Tamira Brown, and I don't think she is active in Vincentian politics, but her brother is.
Mhm.
And we managed 120,000 in that year.
Mhm.
Every cent intact, we used it to go towards developing sport on campus. We
Mhm.
took teams to travel, you know, we supported persons with funds, we bought kits, we did a lot.
You had a successful tenure.
Oh, I most definitely
And you left
did.
with your integrity intact.
I
because
lost
that was
the second time.
You lost the second time.
lost the
I said
second time.
you left with your integrity intact.
Integrity intact,
Yeah,
most
because
definitely.
you had access to a lot of money.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah. Definitely.
No
So-
hanky panky.
No hanky panky.
Right,
So as
that's
a
why.
matter of fact, I think it was people recognizing the little power that we had, and they wanted it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when we look at life, you know, those persons are actually on the other side. They're
Don't
members.
worry about them.
No, we're not worrying about them, but we're saying that on campus, when it's funny because across all the campuses, people don't understand how UE contributes to the political development across the Caribbean.
Yes.
Because all of us who have been on the guild, people don't know Quincy Jones was on the guild the same time as me.
Mhm.
So all of us have infiltrated the political landscapes in our various countries, Jamaica, Trinidad. So it is most definitely a case where you have a passion for it. And I always say when I gave my speech at the UE Student Award ceremony, the loss was a good thing.
Mhm.
Because while I was on the guild, my academics was faltering.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
So I came back the year that I lost, and I remember getting 9 A's, 1 A plus, and 1 B. And that's how I was able to graduate with upper second, you see? So there was a reason for that loss, and I most definitely am grateful because after we lost, everything changed with the funding. So the persons that thought they were getting access to the funds got nothing.
Okay.
So our tenure was the last where we had that autonomy and that fiscal autonomy, and I think we did a lot
Okay.
on campus at the time.
I'm going to ask Malissa, when did you discover the politician in Malissa? Primary school, secondary school, post-secondary school, or a few months ago when you decided, look,
A few weeks ago.
a few weeks
I-
ago, I want to do this.
Yeah, I'm still discovering the politician in Malissa. I had no desires of being a politician.
Mhm.
I was always active in community, giving back to the community in St. John.
Mhm.
I
In what capacity? Club, church, guild?
I am the public relations officer for the St. John Development Council.
Mhm.
This is a non-governmental organization that solely does work in St. John through sports, education, and social services.
Mhm.
I've been active in it for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I've been busy doing.
Mhm.
Seeing myself as a politician, no way I did not.
You are now, though.
Yeah, I am.
Fully
now.
committed
Yes,
to the people of Christchurch, West Central,
I am. I'm
and
fully
to the
committed.
people of Barbados,
Yes,
and helping out Felicia here.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the passion is now burning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felicia, give us a board read.
To comment, Ms. Dujon, you are truly a people's person, very relatable, highly intellectual, I agree, and outstanding character blessing.
And give
That's
credit
from
to the
Relentless.
relentless.
You're relentless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Relentless admirer.
Thank you.
Patricia
Thank you.
Calendar said, blessed good night to the candidates. It was so pleasing to hear the strong, family-oriented men, spiritual men on Tuesday. And it was pleasing to hear our strong, focused young women.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Yes.
We really
Who was it?
Patricia.
Patricia. Thanks very much, Patricia Calendar.
Yeah.
Felicia, when did you discover Felicia the politician? At what age? Primary school, secondary school?
I think it would have to
University?
be I think it started when I was in primary school.
Mhm.
There was a small program on radio called Youth Talk. And my part was to read any article that I found, but it had to be with global, international news.
Mhm.
And so I always got my reports from Reader's Digest I don't know if you've known about that. It's an old,
Yeah.
yeah,
They still publish? I was
they
asked.
do. It's still online, and because my dad used to work as a security guard at a library, so I would get all these old books he would
Oh,
bring
I see.
home. So my reading started from there,
Mhm.
and so I would take little articles from Reader's Digest, as well as the Jehovah Witness persons used to have a booklet called the Tower House, I think,
The
or
tower.
Watchtower.
Watchtower. Yeah. Yeah.
And they would have different articles about what is happening globally. And so at very early age, so we would get that on a Saturday afternoon, we would go to the radio station and I would read my part, what's happening in the news.
Mhm.
And I think that enlightened me as to what is happening outside of St. Lucia, outside of the Caribbean. So that really awakened me. But I think what really propelled my advocacy and politics is when I went to Jamaica. And in Jamaica, we had a group called the Marcus Garvey Movement. And through the Marcus Garvey Movement, we were required to go into the communities and help the community. In Augustown, this is where I met Sizzler and all of the reggae artists, because they too were working in the community and giving back into the community. And through then, they taught me politics. How does it work in Jamaican politics? And that I was able to align it with St. Lucian politics.
Mhm.
So by the time I graduated from Jamaica, I was still living in Barbados. I was still living here. I just went to Jamaica to study, to do my master's and come back to Barbados. I decided to give a run in St. Lucia. I said, I've learned all of this. Let me try to see what is happening in St. Lucia. I didn't go with the major parties because I felt I wanted to learn on the ground. So I joined the third party.
Yeah.
And I was the only woman in that party as well. So for some reason, I tried to challenge the status quo because my parents never, one thing they taught us is to never limit yourself in anything that you've done.
Your parents are alive?
Yes, they are. And you've met my dad.
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
yes.
Of course. I
So,
did.
so one of the things that, regardless of your circumstances, you have to propel as much as you can. You have to be the best in what you do.
Mhm.
And I remember when I went to university, my dad's like, "What are you going to study?" I said, "Philosophy." He said, "Isn't that what men study?" So I said, "Exactly. I want to know how they have worked, and philosophy gives you that basis."
Which brings me to what do you teach at KPhil?
I teach philosophy and computers. I do another course that
Philosophy?
Yes, mainly philosophy, which is
Mainly philosophy.
yes, please.
Oh, you're wise.
We are supposed to be thinkers. We are supposed to be sages, and this is what part of what we do is to have knowledge in every possible field, whether it's law, politics, medicine, sciences. This is what astronomy.
You teach computer science as well?
Yes, I have a double degree, double major. So I did philosophy and computer science.
Where did you do the double major?
In Barbados.
In Barbados.
Yes, I did that at Cave Hills. Computer science, again, when I did computer science, my first endeavor, I went to the US first to do computer science at New York, Brooklyn Tech.
Yes.
And that's where I learned COBOL, and I thought I loved programming. So programming was really the area that I loved in computer science. And then 9/11 happened, and I just couldn't stay in that environment. I actually saw the day when it happened.
Really?
Yeah, my school, the university was right where it happened in downtown Brooklyn. So when it happened, I saw when all the victims crossing, and it was one of those experiences, being in the US and you've never experienced that before. And so from that, I figured I couldn't stay there. It was such an experience, traumatic experience. I came to Barbados, and when I came back here, I never left. I never left. It became a safe haven for me, and it has
Home.
been.
Family.
Yes, and
beautiful
yes, and so
This is home.
so politics. I have seen all the sides of politics. I have been on different areas, but politics is really about championing the rights of persons, and also what persons. And I had to explain that to a young man today. Politicians are legislators. They create laws. So even if you're out there canvassing, what we're doing is to create laws on your behalf. And that is the question, that when you have persons that do not see the interests of persons,
Yes.
they may create laws that tramples on your fundamental basic rights. And so when you read persons like Hart, H.D.L. Hart, and the legal philosophers, these are some of the questions that they raise: the harm principle that the state, the authority of the state. And sometimes I see that seeping and emerging as well. when the state has so much power that it encroaches and infringes on the basic rights of
Yes,
citizens. And so I think that is where that, not only as an academic, but as a human rights person, this is
Yes.
why I propel so much to educate persons about their fundamental rights so that they're aware of it. And I try to do it with my little legs as well.
This leads me
Yes.
to ask you, and I'm going to come to you first with this one. What do you like most about politics? What is it that you like most? The interaction with people, the opportunity to be a legislator, the opportunity to craft social and economic development. There's so many aspects of it. What has drawn you to politics? You're thinking.
I don't know how to.
What is it that?
It's not like I
sparks you?
don't know, but I remember that I saw something that really made me, as an advocate,
Mhm.
I recognized it was
You like the advocacy. That,
I love the advocacy, but also I recognize in the case of domestic violence,
uh,
how the law was what created an entire family to be killed. And then I recognize that there is something that needs to be done. The laws on domestic violence had to be changed. And how do I do that? Is that we strengthen our laws. So it's not only about coming in and doing the intervention as an advocate, but recognizing where the flaws are in the legislation. And I think that's what is important to me, that we create laws to protect, for the protection of everyone, not just the majority or minority, but for everyone. That's what the law is supposed to do. It's supposed to protect every citizen. And I think it's the interactions with hearing persons' concerns, because that's who we were.
Mhm.
There was a time where we were not politicians. There were a time we were just citizens, and we saw what government can do, positively and negatively as well. And I think that's what it is, that I would want to be the person that a few centuries from now, they will say that this lady stood up for us and
And made a
changed and made a difference.
Yeah,
And this is
yeah.
what it
And
is for me.
contributed to
That's
the
right.
country's development.
Correct.
Melissa, there's something that has made you like politics. I assume you like it. What do you like most about it? I mean, it's very difficult. Like this afternoon, everybody was so tired. We canvassed the whole morning in hot sun. Then we go by, I don't think I should call her name, but we had lunch by CP. And we were all there joking and saying, my goodness, sitting down here in the cool afternoon,
You didn't want to leave.
you don't want to leave, you just want to sleep. So we enjoy that, but walking in the sun, but meeting people,
Yes,
such a wonderful
interaction.
experience. Yeah. What do you like most about this thing that we're doing? It's very hard work and it's very humbling. Knocking at somebody's door, you don't know
If they
what
go,
kind of reaction you're gonna get.
They may smile, and next one may curse you. Yeah.
Precise. But
we still
nobody
smile.
cursed her,
No.
so far. Thankfully, there was a very amusing incident last week. We were in, not going to call it district, and he came up with this very stern look, and he had a very interesting hairstyle too. So I thought that he was just angry,
Mhm.
and he greeted us in a very rough manner. And the gentleman turned out to be so friendly,
Yeah.
so cordial towards us. But this is your show. What do you like most about this thing that we're doing called politics?
Like you said, interacting with individuals on a daily basis. You hear different stories.
So you like the canvassing?
I do.
You do?
It's a lot of hard work,
Uh-huh.
but you see a little bit of a difference in every individual.
Yeah. And you're learning a lot.
Yeah. You see some shocking things,
Yeah.
things that you would never think are going on in the country.
Mhm.
It is like a eye opener.
Yes.
There are some areas where the living conditions are horrible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may want to sit down and have a little tear.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the things that you see. Interacting with children are actually a blessing sometimes.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we were canvassing with Felicia, and there was this little girl that
Oh
came
my
out
God.
to greet her, and she had on, the only thing she was wearing was an underwear. So we sent her back upstairs to get a dress, and Felicia took the time to dress the little girl. And so some things like that, you
Felicia
know.
Dresser?
Yeah, Felicia Dresser. So
No wonder the people down there like you so
Yeah.
much. This was in St. James,
St.
Laura.
James, Laura Crossing.
Uh-huh.
So things like that, you know, bring a little smile,
Yeah, yeah.
bring a little joy to your day. Other days are hard. So things like that.
Other days are hard. How?
Oh.
What makes the day of canvassing hard? The sun?
Not the sun, the power stories,
Stories,
or
yeah.
the struggles
Yeah.
that people are
That people are
going through.
enjoying.
Today we met a family
Mhm.
who are dealing with 2 autistic children.
Uh,
Finding a school for the children right now is very hard.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as catching the bus with the children is a difficult experience because crowded areas for autistic children
Yeah.
is a very
Well,
difficult thing to deal with.
Which brings us to the point. Our system, our society, let's say our society, is not really catering to autistic children.
No.
No.
I mean, you go to Canada with an autistic child,
No,
that's
they-
a real network of protection. And that is something, if it is God's will, you come into government, that is something that you would want to
Yeah,
help
definitely.
you.
Yeah, so I really felt badly for the parents because they seem to be
How
really,
old are the children? Are the children?
between the ages of 5 and 8 years old.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the parents are young,
Yeah.
so they seem a little stressed out.
Kids are struggling.
Yeah, very stressful.
And this impels you to think that the state or the government should do a lot more.
Yeah, for children that have disabilities, children that special needs children.
Yeah.
It's something that really needs to be done for them. Right now they're going to a learning school. The waiting period for speech therapy
Mhm.
is 4 years. The
4
yeah,
Yeah.
4 years.
Yep.
The parents were telling us that there's only 1 or 2 speech therapists in the entire island. So trying to get an appointment just to see the therapist is a disaster.
The government will tell you that they just passed very comprehensive disability legislation.
not reaching
And I
the people.
supported it,
Yes,
but that is legislative. But now you're telling me about the social reality.
it does not
That
reach.
while the legislation has been passed, the protection, the actual protection is not there for children of disability.
Yeah.
In some areas.
And even in the schools, teachers are not trained to deal with these children.
Right.
And speaking
That's
to
evidence of a system that's failing,
Yeah.
in spite of comprehensive legislation. So there's a
Disconnect,
between the legislation and the social reality.
Implementation of it.
This is something you think government needs to pay some attention.
definitely.
Dawn,
It says here, see,
yes.
it says this by-election is great preparation for these young politicians.
we're not hearing you well, Dawn.
It says this by-election is a great preparation for these young politicians to get their political feet wet in the real cut and thrust of electoral political activity. They will be ready for the next general
For the
election.
next
But
turn.
not me
Most
though.
definitely.
Thank you, Sidi. Dawn, what is it that you like most about politics?
Y'all hit the nail on the head, the social interaction.
Mhm.
I think being
This
a
is
very
when you're out there canvassing?
yeah, being a very introverted person,
Who?
naturally myself.
Oh,
Yeah. I think getting out there and meeting people. I don't know if anyone else feels it, but I've heard other people articulate it before. Whenever the bell is rung, is if you're putting this extra energy out
Yes,
to nowhere.
yes,
It's always
yes.
it feels
yes,
like a bit of a high.
yes,
It sounds
yes.
mad.
Knocking on that door,
Yeah,
and
it
everyone
definitely-
is different.
So I would even say it is somewhat addictive, this element of yes, the social interaction, but it is giving people hope. I think that drives me a lot, you know. Yes, Melissa was quite right. You see some people in very dire situations and your heart goes out to each and every person.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, if you could help there and then, I believe that many of us would, if we had the capacity to.
Mhm.
And I tell people this is why it is absolutely important to vote them on May 21st so that
Mhm.
we have that fiscal capacity again
Yeah,
through our subvention to begin to do our outreach in the way that we should. Because if we're not able to do that, then it becomes more problematic in terms of getting people the aid that they need, not this short term, stipend, I guess, that the government is giving at this point in time, So for me, it is being that, I guess, that figure of hope for individuals. The mere fact that people believe that you have the ability to do better for them, I think it motivates you a lot, because each and every one of us have to believe that we possess that ability to change things in this country. And I tell people all the time that the Barbados that I grew up in seems like a fading memory.
How is that?
Things are just different. Life is different. The cost of living is high. I think our values have slipped to some extent, whereas we would have waited years, well into your 20s, to experience certain things. You see younger people having these experiences very early on. And I worry that by the time they get to 20, 30, they may have lived the life 3 times over because they haven't paced themselves, Certain things we had to wait to do.
Yes.
I remember, even if you're courting back in the day, the guy has to stay outside on the front row like Romeo, and you upstairs or wherever like Juliet, it was proper kind of waiting, Now everything is so immediate, everybody has access to everything. So I just feel like, for me, at this stage of life, it just at least preserve that memory that I have of Barbados, to then pass on to my daughter, to then pass on, this is the way that things are done, this is the way that it should be done, not to have her feel as if life needs to be rushed. I think we live in a generation now of instant gratification. You see something, you want it right now, without waiting, or at least without planning. I plan life in 10-year cycles, so I know what it means to wait for something.
They want you to read. Who is that? Patricia Calendar. You can see it.
Yeah,
Yes,
never
let us
was
all see.
able to see this style of politics before. Kudos to the DLP team.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, thank you,
Calendar.
Patricia. Thank you for that.
They are
As it
seeing.
says,
Don't know who are the producers of this show, but it is one of the most creative and educational shows in Barbados.
Can we name the producers? Or?
Thank you so much, Senator Adair Worrell and
David Boyd. And there's a man on the
and the
camera.
cameraman, Ramon Goodman.
That'd be good.
So I think that's it, taking all of the experiences that I've had abroad, when people say, you really come back to Barbados? Absolutely. It's home. Roaming the world and seeing different places and being in everybody's place and still not having ownership of it. This is the rock I know. This is mine.
I wanted to ask you, listening to you just now, you were talking about 20, 25 years ago, the Barbados in which you grew up. Do you see your role in a sense as restoring? Because you seem interested in restoring the society in which you preserving.
Because there's still a bit of it left.
Because I was using restoring.
Yeah,
So
preserving, absolutely.
You wish to see this society take a turn in a different direction?
I wish to see us. There are pockets of it. You see pockets of it whenever you canvass. Pockets of Barbados of yesteryear. You see it. You see some of the values being kind of reinforced, as I said, communities like Eden Lodge. And I will raise my hand and say, where the Democratic Labour Party has had its roots is where you see these values kept the most. Yeah, most definitely. The communities that we've developed, the housing areas that we built, there are certain characteristics that are crucial and are critical, and
neighbors looking after each other.
Shows how this party has developed this country. And it's interesting.
We're losing that, do you think?
Because that's where this government wants the country to go. The government is creating this divide. The government wants to erase the DLP's contribution to this country.
The legacy.
And they're playing on the fact that, young people are now more impressionable. And they're more impressionable because really, when you think about it, there isn't much that is done for young people in this day and age, aside from, as you quite rightly state, the revelry, the instant gratification, the parties. And it feels
distressing. it is distressing.
So that's the
The
culture
number of
that
our young
seems
people
to
who
be.
are drawn to
Yeah.
revelry
And there's nothing
as an end
wrong.
in itself.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of entertainment. Don't get me
A
wrong.
bit.
A bit of
But if it
entertainment.
becomes your entire
If it
spiritual
becomes your
engagement,
core, if it becomes
Yeah.
a culture, and it feels as if it's a bit of a culture. I don't want to say subculture because there's
no,
some
it's
young
not
people
sub.
that
It's
you
not sub. It's
that
not sub.
only know it, you know. So for me, recognizing, and I tell people this is why I love this party so much. It has made me the woman that I am. It has shown me, you know, the way that we need to go. And I think it is each of our duties, you know, each of us, it is our duty to continue to preserve the legacy of this party, regardless of how unpopular people try to make it to be.
Mhm.
You know, we have created some of the key pillars in this country. We have built them, and we need to be proud of that.
You know, Dawn, I hear a lot of the propaganda. You hear that, oh, the BLP is so good with social media, and that the BLP has not projected itself on social media
Mhm.
sufficiently. But a lot of it is the fluff, the invitation to revelry. Take, for example, what the Barbados Labour Party did on Monday.
Yeah.
And we're going to discuss this next week on the show, but let us introduce it here. I found it quite interesting that an entertainer came here. I can call the name, it's there on video, Beanie Man. And he said that the Prime Minister called him and said, I need your help.
Oh,
Yeah, it's there. I need your help. So you're bringing an entertainer from Jamaica to Barbados and asking him to give you political help. So then, to whom are you trying to appeal?
I could tell you.
To whom are you trying to appeal? You want his audience, and that says a lot about your perception of people, and it says a lot about the direction in which you want the country to go. It says a lot about where you want young people to focus their emphasis.
It's interesting, bro.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this
I was distressed when I heard him say
this
that.
campaign will not be won on social media, and I think
No.
that the Barbados Labour Party really needs to stop and take check. You know, because when you put down your phone from scrolling and you go in the fridge and it's empty,
yep.
and you don't have any money in your pocket to fill the fridge, and you don't have any money in your pocket to put gas in your car, and you don't have the $14 to traverse for work daily, mind you. You don't even have the money to put a data plan on your phone. So if you don't have your Wi-Fi on, you probably can't even use the internet. I think that the government needs to recognize that, you know, this race, this election, this
Yes.
by-election is not going to be won on social media. They need to face the public head on and let the people of Barbados know why they're struggling.
And it is not going to be about appealing to people's materialist
No, most
instincts and
definitely.
desires.
But it also tells
No.
you how this,
Yes.
it tells, well,
But it is where the government wishes to take young people.
but it
into
tells,
that.
it
It's a
tells,
culture in which
right,
they
it-
wish to take young people
it
for their own
also,
benefit.
it also tells you how they think about those people.
Precisely.
If you're going to look at young Barbadians and you think that is all that they're worth, it tells you something about the government. And I want
Precisely.
young persons to understand that it's unfortunate that a prime minister believes that this is what you're worth. They're not going to tell you that you need to educate yourself. They're not going to tell you
Correct.
that you need to learn a skill or become the best person that you can be in this country. They're telling you that you're only good for, you know, fetting and drinking and fetting and everything that comes with it. And it's disheartening that every time you look on social media, this is what is coming from the Barbados Labour Party. Nothing of substance.
Correct.
Nothing that uplifts the young people to know that this is not what, I mean, as our comrade here said,
No.
that
She canvassed with you all
yes,
today.
I know her name. I
Your
prefer
turn.
to call. No, I know. I prefer to call her comrade because it brings a connection when we
Okay.
do that too.
Okay.
It binds us.
Mhm.
And what I'm also trying to say, we find this is what is happening. That kind of short-term engagement
Yes.
is
Yes.
just about
Gratification.
gratification, and we need to be very vigilant of that because we want our young persons to know that there is more to you. You're a spiritual being,
We have to talk to
and
the
you
young people
need,
in
yes,
these terms.
we have to do that
And it takes courage.
because we want to save their lives.
Precisely.
This is not a culture that we want them to really embrace as what is all for your entire life. it's only short term, and at
Correct.
some point it's going to go away. It's like everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So if your government thinks that this is all you basically there to be part of their circus,
Mhm.
and when
Yeah.
the circus closes shop,
Yeah.
what happens to you?
Yeah.
And this is what
Back
we
to square
need to.
one.
This is what we need to inform our youth of Barbados, that we are not part of a circus.
Mhm.
We are spiritual beings.
Yes.
We are human beings, and we are equal, law-abiding citizens. And we will not, we'll not participate
And
in
we're
it.
not reinventing the
No,
wheel.
we're
We're not
not.
creating a
No,
new
we're not.
society.
No,
We are
no.
reestablishing, as Don would say,
Right.
preserving a society
Yes.
that had existed before.
And I think that's why we have strong women in this party,
yes.
because this is how we see our citizens. We see them as equal partners
Excellent.
to the development of this country. We do not
Excellent.
just want to see them for merrymaking. We
Mhm.
don't want to see them when the
Mhm.
circus is on, and we bring.
Yeah,
That's why you
yeah.
call in for help, because you want a circus,
Precisely.
and we want that circus to end. And this is what we have to do for this by-election. We have to end that circus, and we have to end it on the 21st.
Ralph, have
Yes.
you ever heard of the term crashing out?
crashing out.
Yeah.
All right.
This government.
Educate me.
So crashing out, right? In Gen Z terms means, that falling out after, you had a bit of fun, and then
Mhm.
reality hits you, and then you
So
scramble.
what do you call it? Crashing out?
Crashing out.
And you're trying
this
to
government
reestablish contact with
is
reality.
the highest contributor to our young people crashing out.
Mhm.
Yes.
In
Yes.
this day and age,
Yes.
the party the Saturday, they wake up the Sunday and they're looking around like, this is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Monday come, but I don't have a job.
Don, do you think,
You know.
and Melissa, you as well,
Mhm.
do you think we can reach young people
We are
with
reaching
these
them.
messages?
I think we
It takes
can.
courage. You do it at the expense of your popularity, because
Mhm.
we met a chap in St. Lucie last year,
Mhm.
and he said he likes the government. And I said, why? He said, because they do a lot of parties. No, he honestly said that. And I was distressed.
So we need to
We've
remember
been able to
that,
reach them.
yeah, music is a very powerful thing.
Yes.
It plays on the mind,
Mhm.
and the BLP uses the music as this feel good,
Yeah. Almost hypnotic.
yeah, hypnotic.
Yeah.
So when you think of the BLP and they're always having certain songs playing,
Yeah.
you as a citizen, when you're around there, you remember, oh, I was partying, I felt good.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that's what the BLP brings to the table.
Yeah.
So the music is there to allow you to ignore all the other things that are going on in the society, the
But you're
poverty, the cost of living,
Yes.
etc.
Mhm.
So we need to allow others to realize, partying is not everything. Let's focus on the real issues.
Melissa, I took a look at it for a few minutes on Monday, was it? East Coast?
Mhm.
Young children. They were very young,
Mm.
and the people are performing. And I used to see that at the Crusades. Y'all know what the Crusades
You
are?
better than me, because I
Yes,
don't watch
yes.
nothing. That
No, the Crusades, when the preachers came and had these, we're gonna come to it shortly.
Yeah.
When they came and had these, when the preachers used to, they have the same effect.
Mhm.
I find I watch them,
Mhm.
and they have the same effect as a very charismatic preacher.
Yes.
And you become distressed that your young people are being caught up. For me, back then, I mean, a musician, he was entertainment, and you laugh and you say, good show.
Mhm.
But you get a sense now, the way I see young people relating to entertainment and to entertainers.
Different.
Yeah, it is different. It is
Like
different.
they're
and it's
worshiping
quite
them. Yes.
worship precisely, and I find that quite disturbing. And we have to be on. We call ourselves honest voices for the people, and we have to be extremely honest going forward in talking to young people, in telling them how we feel, in telling them that a lot of the indulgence is self-destructive. We have to be courageous enough and honest enough to say that. Are we willing to say it?
Oh, we're saying it now.
I said everything in time. Everything in
time.
moderation. If young people.
Let's see what Queen Bee is telling us.
Oh yes, this new look DLP team is a force to be reckoned with. We will follow you all the way to Parliament when the bell is rung. Queen Bee. Queen Bee, change that to Queen Bee, please. Please.
I wanted to and that's I think that's the topic that we have to confront. Going forward.
Everything in moderation. I think for me, what's most important, and it would be remiss of me as a psychologist not to even leave a bit of what we would, or at least what will be seen in the new DLP manifesto when it is ready. But I do feel there is a very strong need to focus on mental health education within our schools, evidence-based mental health education from the schools into the communities, into workplaces. And I think I said this all the way back in 2021, that there is a need for a mental health act, a really, really sound mental health act, because whereas back in our day, there wasn't a need for this kind of very hands-on, psychological education. Is because social media has really changed the level of access that young minds have had.
Let me interrupt you. Hold that thought. Let us remind people in Barbados, we are not anti-entertainment.
No, we're not.
Good. Let us.
The things that young
Continue
people
that.
have access to, and I tell people this all the time, right? And it's in my parenting, I hope that I am able to execute it as well as I envision, because I know sometimes it's hard to take a tablet away from a child to say, enough screen time. But whereas we were allowed to use computers at school for maybe 1-2 hours a week for IT, learning the basic skills. You had a Facebook account at about 18. I think then you didn't have a choice but to wait till you were 18. This access to everything being immediate, you could know what's going on in the world away just by scrolling and refreshing a page. Young minds aren't ready for the information that they receive. They see people, the first thing they do is compare,
Say that again. Young people are not ready.
They're not ready for the things that they see online.
You mean
So
the load
whereas
of information
the load of information. So whereas
that's coming at them?
Yeah, as an adult, as a child,
That's
I
interesting.
knew, as a young woman coming from Bashal, I knew education was my way forward. And knowing that education was my way forward, I paid attention to my academics. I made sure I learned most importantly. And I told you, even
Stages and phases.
as I lost the election, I know my focus was to get back to my books.
Get those grades.
So we knew that if we wanted to have a good life, at least the Dems made it so, we had to learn, we had to study, and we had to become employable. So that was the long-term goal, to work hard, study, and establish myself. No, people see, let me just create a TikTok account and develop content and I could become rich, which is true. But the likelihood of that happening in Barbados, you see them talking about the brainstorming, monetizing online content and whatnot. That is not an immediate, or shouldn't be an immediate aspiration for a young Barbadian, because the legislation does not presently allow it. But we have our young Barbadians seeing young Americans, young Brits, young Australians becoming rich. There are children Aurora's age who review toys, for example, and their parents.
How old is Aurora?
Aurora is 4.
4, okay.
So there are children between the ages of 4 and 7 reviewing toys and being paid for it, and that money going to their parents. I mean, young millionaires, Ralph.
But this
right?
is form of child labor.
That's the thing.
Well, we would
So
say
there's,
that.
there's another. So it's good,
No, I was seriously asking Felicia,
but
how does she see this as a human rights issue?
It is a human rights, but I think part of what we have to look at, and while you were speaking, it brings again the questions of artificial intelligence, which we will have to talk about, because it will be introduced in the school system. And how do we use it? How do we get our students, our young persons in the education system to use it wisely? Copyright issues, because even though you're doing TikTok on the internet, there's still the idea of copyrights that you have to look at, privacy laws. So now we're seeing the discussion with TikTok where they're now looking to see that we don't want students, or we don't young person at a certain age. And I think social media is looking at that. How do we censor that? Because we don't want young persons engaging in such activities. So I think every government has to look at in terms of the protection of children, but the way the algorithms are made in some cases, if a child is, but not only that, but if the child is smart enough, the child will know, okay, I have to be 13 to be on that, I have to be. So there are a number of issues, and I think it all draws down to what we as an incoming government,
Mhm.
what do we envision for our young persons? Not only in terms of education,
Mhm.
in terms of technology, because we can't run away from technology. We can't run away from science either, because of what we've seen in the world. The world has become much more smaller in terms of technology. But what do we want to do in terms of how do we manage technology and how do we make it our students, or sorry, our society members, the
Mhm.
ethical approach to it. So they must have some kind of ethics involved in terms of what we do. But then we find a government that wants to implement those unethical laws like the cybercrime bill
Mhm.
that really does not capture the rights of citizens, the rights of users. And so all of those matters, I think it's very important. But I think the youth have a tremendous position in society to make the changes that is required. But and burden as well. But what is also important, and I think when we spoke about what we're seeing the Barbados Labour Party is doing, it also brings us back to the idea of church. Because when I was growing up, the elders are the ones who provided the guidance. And what we're seeing in society, we're seeing elders are guiding our young persons into the wrong path.
Is Marva
And it's
telling us
very
something?
dangerous, very
Young people
dangerous.
need
Who
to
can
be
see it?
educated and recognize that there is more to voting than shirts.
Of course,
money, and
yes, yes.
And not to mention the money ball
That
for the
shirt's money
shirt.
effect.
Yes,
The
yes.
money ball up in the shirts. I saw some
Really?
where the shirts cost about today.
In the garbage.
Let's talk about
In the
voting then.
garbage.
And thanks, Felicia.
You're
Let's
welcome.
talk about voting. I think we know that the last election in 22 evidenced the lowest ever turnout in a Barbadian election. I mean, we probably had about 60% apathy, people who did not come out. And the one before that, I'm told, was the lowest at that time, 80. So that there's a trend of voting apathy in Barbados. There's a trend in which people are not voting. How do we reverse that? You see, it's undemocratic. You cannot, a democracy cannot function as a democracy while only a minority of the citizens contribute to the selection of the government. That's not in keeping with democracy. How do we get people voting again in Barbados? Or should I ask, why have they stopped?
They stopped because
Let's ask that question first. Why did they stop?
people have less confidence in politicians.
Really?
From canvassing, you're hearing, oh, both sides neglected the citizens. So persons are a bit fed up of what politicians have done in the past. They haven't voted the last.
Loss of trust.
Yeah, loss of trust.
Yeah.
They haven't come out in the last 2 elections, but they're starting to see the negative effects of not voting the last time.
Yes.
Most of them are saying, oh, we're definitely going to come out now.
Really?
Yes.
Those negative effects, what from your interaction with people, what were those negative effects? What are those negative effects? I'm sorry.
Take a look at the cybercrime bill. If you weren't in the opposition, the cybercrime bill probably would have passed.
And let's credit Marcy Weeks as well.
Yeah. So kudos to Marcia Weeks and her team for the work that they
But I
did.
think she did more than anybody else.
So they had a child protection bill that Felicia paid
Yes.
road in.
Yes.
That took place under this government as
Yes.
well.
Yes. State legislation.
State legislation.
Which they may not come with if they come with it at the shop. Because if they come with that, that's the turning point in terms of their survival. Not popularity, survival. Survival. You really can't. You cannot, while crime is rampaging across Barbados, come and penalize the majority for something as trivial as that and claim to be a good government. You really can't.
Yeah, so people are actually starting to see what the dictatorship with having a government that won 30 love twice.
Yeah.
So they're looking to reverse that. Yeah.
Which is why this lady's election is so important.
It's so important. It's an
At the
opportunity.
local level and nationally.
It's an opportunity to strengthen the opposition in Parliament. You know,
and to get better representation.
Better representation.
We need to tell the St. James North people that it's not about a high-flown whole concept of democracy, but at the basic level of quality representation. And I think we've heard it in the campaign. This habit of just telephoning somebody every morning to wish them happy birthday, that's not the
It's
essence
not
of
working.
representation. It's not working. You know, when the honeymoon is over, that nonsense is over.
I would, well, talking about honeymoon, I would say something else.
I want
So,
to
okay, Felicia, why do you think people had stopped voting? In 2018, it was the lowest up to that point. 22 was COVID, so let's focus on the last.
Well, there's a famous term called the tyranny of the majority, which we have to be very careful of.
Yes.
That majority and how majorities are encroaching on the rights of the minority. I want all Barbadians to know right now, we're the minority, not the majority. The majority is in parliament right now. And the tyranny of the majority is that they have the right to implement or make or create any laws that you may or may not agree with. But because they have the majority, they can vote on it. And so I wish to thank you again for making the decision and fighting for the rights of persons. I cannot do it enough because it is important that people understand what has happened. And I think at this point, God has given us another opportunity to do what is right by the people of Barbados. People in 2022, I believe people were terrified, not only because of the tyranny of the government, the majority, but the abuse of power during COVID.
Yes.
We were dealing with a pandemic that we've never dealt before. And then we had a government that imposed laws that infringe on the basic rights of citizens. They used different legislations to do that. They were quite happy at the time to abuse that authority. People died because of the kinds of decisions that they made.
Really?
And so we will not go too much into that.
No.
But the reality
It
is
was
that
as serious as that.
the reality is during that time, persons were being informed of the pandemic, but then you have an election during a pandemic, but you have a big motorcade driving around talking about pedigree and everything else, but forgot that you told the same individuals that they had to be in lockdown.
There we are.
And these are the realities.
For political mileage,
this is what
the
we
rules were different.
right. The rules were different, and this is what we mean by the tyranny of the majority. We are dealing with a tyrannical government, and the people are the minority. And I think it's about time that Barbadians understand that we have to give St. James North every support. Whether you vote in St. James North or not, provide the support for them, because this is where we get the opportunity to send a very clear message to this government that over the years, we are not satisfied with their kind of leadership. It's an oppressive leadership.
At the local level.
At the local and national level. Yeah. This is the opportunity that we have to stand up and rise and send a very strong message to the government. And we are going to support. We are going to support the St. James.
Patricia Calendar is very prolific tonight. What is she saying?
Yes, it is true about being fed up. As I said on Tuesday, I have not voted since David Thompson may rest in peace, continue to rest in peace. I can't. Right, I have not voted since David Thompson. I can't wait to vote for Ms. Dujon.
Excellent. Thank you, Patricia Calendar. Dawn, why do you think people had stopped voting?
I think people stopped voting because, again, we spoke about the immediate gratification, and I've always told people, right, this government thrives on hardship.
Thrives on hardship.
Thrives on hardship, because when there is hardship in the land, people become desperate, and people are
dependent.
Yeah, definitely. This government thrives on our nation becoming a welfare state.
That's an interesting.
Thankfully,
argument.
it is not there yet, but we have seen it with the $300 grant, whatever it is, the give back grant or the hardship grant. The point for me is,
so when you impoverish people, you become more powerful.
Yes, definitely.
And you can come and say, okay, I'll give you $300,
Yes,
and they're supposed to feel grateful.
And people are supposed to be so thankful because they believe this government got all the money and they're helping people. So this government thrives when people are actually disenfranchised.
Yes, that's interesting.
So I tell, and as I have been definitely, I've told persons, even on the campaign trail, you know, when and if money is given or even accepted, right?
Mhm.
Recognize that $300 now you need as a bare minimum to go in the supermarket. to shop
$300 in the supermarket
for a household of two, or no, I'm telling you,
for a
I said
bachelor.
barely. You can look at me.
A bachelor.
So I'm telling people no. In 2022, the 600 may have stretched 2 weeks, but no, you're lucky if the money stretch even past a week.
This 300 has been paid.
300, I think
Not
it was
yet.
about.
Not as yet. When is it going to be paid?
I think by the 14th of May.
So they're using
14th of May.
taxpayers to pay taxpayers.
Yeah.
14th of May, right before
But the thing is,
Or
it's
before
not
the-
even a
election.
bribe.
Right before election.
You know what is interesting, and this.
But
is
what can it
needs
do?
to be
What can you
said.
do with this $300?
This
Some of the people
government
we went to today,
taxation with this
the
government is
offering this evening, the lady who looked so young,
comrade
and those
leader.
three children, I think one was mid-teens, one was about 7, and the one that was climbing on the barricade
Tell
was
me.
about.
If the people are
3.
overtaxed, the
What can that young lady do with $300?
What
Let's
can
talk
she
to our
do?
people. What can she do with that $300?
at this point in time,
Two chickens.
I mean, she
right?
had $300 more than she had
yeah, what
before she
can do
received
with
it. What can she? Your mothers.
Well, of course,
Mhm.
like what can you really do?
What is she going to do with that $300 on the day that she gets it? Can she save
Probably
some?
pay a bill.
Can she pay the
Probably
bill
pay a
with
pay a
some?
bill. Probably
Yeah,
pay a bill.
yeah.
Pay a bill.
Couple things. in the
Probably pay a
supermarket.
bill. Some stuff in the supermarket.
What happens the
That's
next month?
about it.
What happens 2 days later?
Back to
Next
the same
month.
thing.
Back to square one.
But if I
So we
may,
have a comment online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Salt bread.
Who?
Miss
What's the
Dujon.
name?
Salt bread.
Stop right. Okay.
Miss Dujon, stay focused. I plead the blood of Jesus upon you and all the DLP members. David was a sharper boy, but he defeated Goliath. God be with you.
amen.
And then we have another comment from CD. To use a cricket analogy, the shine has gone off the DLP ball now,
Mhm.
and their attempt to spin it isn't working. The DLP must take this opportunity
that.
to score heavily against them.
I love
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Love
Well
that.
said, CD.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question. So where are they getting that $300 from? So they're using taxpayers' money to bribe them with 300 with their own money. That's basically what they're doing. So the
You
same.
call that corruption? You know?
Yeah.
No, you call
I
it
didn't want
corruption.
I didn't want to.
If our people are paying 40% more in taxes than they were under the Dems
Right.
2008 to 2018,
Yeah.
do they not deserve some of their money back?
Yeah, they're giving
This
them
is
their
the
own money.
question.
They're giving them
You
back
know,
and making it
so
feel as
I
if
don't
it's
want
a
anyone
reward.
to
It's
think at
horrible.
this point in
They
time.
took,
Horrible.
they took at the advice of White Oak,
Mm.
just over $1 billion out of the NIS, and I
Yeah.
call that during the budget reply.
Yes, you
I'm
did.
telling
For People's Bank.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
there was a debt for nature swap in which the NIS suffered again
Yep.
to the tune of $400 million.
Destroying
So that the
everything
NIS
that
has
was
been
built.
leaking. Well, the
Yeah.
NIS hasn't been leaking. The NIS has been bled by the
Yeah.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another comment online
Mhm.
from Pamela Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
St. James North has to tear the veil to remove the darkness from our country.
Amen.
Excellent.
It
Excellent.
is darkness.
Yeah.
I feel even
Thank you.
campusing,
Pamela Edwards.
you know.
Thank you, Pamela.
It has been very refreshing. I've said
What has been
Since
refreshing?
since coming home in January, I've heard other people say that there's a weight over the country, a weight.
A weight.
The
Mhm.
atmosphere feels heavy,
Yeah.
and
Mhm, mhm.
we're not just speaking about spiritual things, but we are spiritual beings, as
Mhm.
Felicia has said. And I think why I've chosen to make time specifically for St. George North is because this election
Saint
isn't
James.
just
Saint
St.
James.
James North,
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Well, you know, St. George.
Your heart is still in
been the
St. George.
last. It's been the last by election was, remember?
Yes,
Yes,
that's true.
You know, but for me, I see it more prophetic than anything else.
Mhm.
And I know our Barbadian people knows when we are on the wrong course. They
Yes.
were asked to stay the
When we
course,
weighted down.
you know, and we are now recognizing we are on the wrong course. And I know they will make wrong things right.
Mhm.
And I think this election is more prophetic to send a message to the Barbados Labour Party. And I tell people today, and I will continue to say, Barbados belongs to the people.
Mhm.
Barbados does not belong to the Barbados Labour
Labour
Party.
Party.
As much as it may be in their name,
Mhm.
it does not belong to them. And we need to reclaim our democracy.
Mhm.
And
in this
Dawn,
election.
I have waged campaign on this, and it's not a frivolous campaign.
No.
This habit of painting everything red.
Yeah.
I mean,
Awful.
they don't understand.
Tyrants.
Awful. I don't even want to sit on some.
They don't understand what they're doing
Honest.
to people's psyche,
You think that the
and it is a very sharp and red is a violet color.
Yeah, right, means danger.
You think it's
and-
really
and-
that genius? I think you're giving them too much
No, it is
credit.
propaganda,
Yeah,
Don.
propaganda.
It is propaganda. It is literally painting the country red.
So everywhere people go, all they're seeing is red. And
Yeah.
they're going to remember the BLP.
But you want to know
Precisely.
something? I remember
You
the
don't
blood
think
of
it's
Jesus.
propaganda?
I remember the blood of Jesus. That's the red that I know. The blood of Jesus. So I think that we need to recognize that the red symbolizes many things, and we are spiritual beings, and red symbolizes the blood of Jesus for me.
Well, one of
Every
their
time I see one
one
of those
mantra.
red benches, I say I plead the blood of Jesus over my country.
Well, one of a mantra of theirs is painting the town red.
Really?
Yes, they say.
But we
Let
will
us
paint
paint
it
the
back
town
yellow
red.
and blue.
Okay, let's hear what's that name there? You can who?
And Gardner, I will be
M.
grateful
Gardner.
to receive the $300 back from the many years I paid taxes and NIS. I will not vote for them in Jesus'
Yeah, so
name.
they're going to take the money and vote them right up.
Yeah,
Look, Barbadians need to know how much money this government spends. And when
Yeah.
I say spend, I should use the more appropriate word and say squanders.
yeah, definitely. The red benches. This is what is there.
And they were painted in a different color. So it
F-
must have taken a few
Let me tell you.
$100,000 to repaint them red.
If this is what that government needs in order to feel as if they have this over influence over people, I think they need to go back to the drawing board. I definitely do feel so.
I think they're
You know?
mentally and intellectually too tired
Yeah,
to go back to any drawing
I'm
board.
telling you. I think everything.
I mean,
we're
it sounds like a
not-
cliche, Don, but when you say government has lost its way, Felicia,
It
they really,
has,
they
it
really have
has.
lost
No, they
its way.
lost the
It
plot.
has.
We
It
have another
has.
comment.
Yes.
And say, I absolutely agree with Don. This
Mhm.
government is thriving at the expense of the impoverished. We have lost faith in our leaders, and I cannot wait to see the backs of the majority of that BLP team.
You want to know something really funny? And I don't think if I told you about this and I will mention
You
it.
sure
again.
this is funny, Don?
You know, everything with me, haha. You never know which kind of haha. But it was the same thing I mentioned today. You know, the same thing we mentioned about the red shirts. And again, I made a comment to my comrade, because you know we were out in our numbers.
Red shirts wash your car really well, though.
No, but you know we were out in our numbers.
Doing
And
it
when-
better.
And we have to speak about things like this because social media will not portray this. We outnumber them today.
Yeah,
Oh,
Kara
oh,
To
said
the
it.
point
yeah.
where a
Oh, yeah.
sitting
Yeah,
minister
they were demoralized.
was shaking. You
Mhm.
know that we
Yeah.
hit that particular area just about 10:30, and we outnumbered them 5-1. And I want it to be known, 5-1. We outnumbered the Barbados Labour Party today, and they were on the phones
along
ringing,
along
calling.
road view today,
Within
Don.
2 hours,
And they're talking about
within
canvassing.
2 hours, you saw about 15 people come not working, and I want the people to know this: not working. 2 people were at a house and 15 stopping off watching like a show,
Mhm.
right? So we know that people just got shirts to come and put on and stand up to look as if they had the numbers. We had the numbers
Mhm.
today. We did.
And
Right.
and along road views, some people in cars.
We had the numbers.
Uh,
We don't want
count
to
their
stay in the
points.
area because you don't want them to double up
No,
and come
no,
back tomorrow. Good.
Or victimize them.
We hit another area today now, and we saw them live hopping out the cars to take a shirt to somebody sitting down in a car,
Mhm.
so that body could then put on the shirt and come and look like they're working. And I made a comment
Oh, they're
to my
giving out
comrade,
shirts?
definitely, you know what inside the shirt.
Well, tell the
Right.
people a red shirt washes a car very well.
You
I mean, you
understand?
put some
And I
soap
told
in a
my
bucket with
comrade,
water and
did
soak
not
that
even
that
mention
red shirt in it.
or
You get a good
was
shine
so
with a
inclined
red shirt.
to mention the young. So I said, well, look at the, give me handing out red shirts to canvass. Well, this is so no one canvasses for the Barbados Labour Party because they believe in the party anymore.
Mm.
You know, we came out today because we believe in the Democratic
Yes.
Labour Party.
Yes.
All 50 of us believe in the Dems, right? And I made the comment, believing in Felicia as well. I made the comment, so so red shirts now to canvas, and somebody can say, well, he who laugh best.
But that wasn't, I think what was interesting is
Nobody
that,
tell you that Felicia can have the laugh.
Let's hear. That's Queen K.
yeah.
You
We can read
understand?
that one.
Yeah,
definitely. My
please.
biggest fear that this government, on its current trajectory, will create a great disparity of wealth, the very rich and the extremely
Yeah.
poor.
It's
You know?
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, but
Look, let me tell you about that. Almost called her name. In Roadview today, there's a building train that has taken place along the West Coast. And doesn't matter under who it took place, it is there. And we met people who were on the beach and they were relocated by very wealthy people and placed on the other side of the street. Then there are other people on the land side, and there are a lot of these large condos going up. And there was a lady, and this isn't petty, there's a lady who lives at the front of this condo, and they have placed the garbage right next to her patio. The garbage cans from the condos are placed, and this is a large condo, which has, you get a part of the land that has been excavated, call it whatever you wish, and these condos have been constructed. So that the driveway is down by this lady's patio, little veranda, and they have placed the garbage cans right there. So when she comes out on her little patio, she's getting the smell of the garbage.
Ew.
And the condos are safely placed right up in the back. And this is a trend of uneven development where the wealthy are protected, and not only are they protected, but they feel that they can put the garbage can down by the lady. And she says she thinks it is happening because they want her to move. And I asked her, well, did you say anything to town planning? She said, well, she called the public inspection department, the public inspectors, and she said, call the name and said it had dealt with it quite well. But I said, look, give us a call next week and we will try to find a resolution for you.
Yes.
But it is this disparity, this unequal treatment of
But this
between
is what the
citizens.
Barbados Labour Party does. I do it.
Well, that's what
I
she
grew
was
up hearing
saying.
it.
That's what she
I
was
grew up
saying.
hearing
And
it.
this was a road view.
Yeah.
And along the West Coast, you have seen a demonstration of different treatment being dished out to
The
different
poor
people.
suffers under the Barbados Labour Party. Always. They suffer and they're always made to be dependent and they're always made to be asking. They're always made to be the last and never the first. And I want our people to recognize this and to get this government out.
Yeah, I think people just need to reclaim, they need to reclaim the country. And that's it's as simple as it is. Reclaim your lands back, reclaim your dignity, reclaim your voice. I think that's what's important. We have been silent for almost 7 years. People have been felt as if they've been victimized by this government. You cannot have a government that sees very little of you and only recognizes you when they want to gather effect.
Yes.
And this is what it is about. They're not going to have your interests at heart. And I think it's very important. And the reason, and I will keep saying that, the reason why I joined the Democratic Labour Party is that because we are here to serve. There's no glamour with it.
I can tell
There's
you.
no celebrity with it. We came to work. So while we're seeing the Labour Party is having all these fests and parties, we are there working on your behalf, and we have been working on your behalf. And so the question is, I think some persons, when they met me, they said, well, you know, Ms. Dujon, what have you been doing for the constituency? I say, I've been working on your behalf night and day from day one, not only as a teacher or lecturer, but I have always advocated for the rights of persons, and I will continue to fight for them. And so when I see tyrannical behavior, when I see a government that is trying to take advantage or is taking advantage of the people, I will raise my voice. As little as I am, I will raise my voice because I think it's important to do so. And I'm now seeing the Barbados Labour Party trying to go into the communities. I think today they opened up a tech class or tech school for the young persons. Where have you been in
You
the
sure about
last
that?
12
We
or
drove
15?
by and it was supposed to be at Gordon Greenwich.
Yes, there was.
When we drove by at Gordon Greenwich, I saw nothing.
So there.
But I did hear a report
Yes.
and I heard a few children in the background.
Oh.
I don't know if it was a rain to class, a little class from
Yeah, but they
Gordon
need
Greenwich
to.
that
They
ought
need to
come in
do.
there. But
they need to do better.
You know why
became disbanded very
you want
quickly.
to know why I'm
So
not
even
impressed?
that claim lacks credibility.
Yes.
I'm not
yes.
impressed because this is what government should be doing.
Doing for
Why
free,
are
yeah,
we applauding the
rated,
government
yes.
for doing their job?
Precisely.
This is the thing that really confuses me. Under the Democratic Labour Party from 2008 to 2018, these things were commonplace.
Yes.
The Democratic Labour Party never said, oh, we put on a class, oh, we built a school, oh, we did this, we did that.
Right.
You know, it was our right to be afforded these basic things
Yep.
under the government.
Don, somebody's saying something about you. You may wish to read it.
Oh,
I know you wish to read this one.
Correct. You just need to look back during COVID and the hamper handouts that they relished in treating decent Bajan people like beggars on the street. This
You know the
place
most
is
appalling
bizarre.
thing about that COVID, the distribution. There was a military truck.
Yeah,
You know about this, Melissa? That used to drive around,
yeah.
and there was a voice making an announcement. Please wash your hands. Well, it was a deeper voice. Please wash your hands. Please practice. And it was the Prime Minister's voice.
Oh my God.
And and look, a military vehicle, distributing food from a military vehicle is a kind of symbolism
Squid
that you
Games.
don't want.
Sounds like Squid Games. It sounds
No,
scary.
it sounds like a repressive military dictatorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it
And-
sounds
and
like.
that is
Feels like
why-
you don't distribute
Yeah.
food from
Humanitarian.
a military truck,
Yeah.
and then you don't have the Prime Minister's voice
Right.
announcing to people the simplest things,
Yeah.
that they should do. And COVID was exploited.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
COVID was
Yeah.
exploited.
And that's why it
by the
intimidated
government
people. Yeah.
and it felt like a military regime, like a military dictatorship.
Yeah.
And these things permeate the mind at some point that you begin to feel,
For me, not for
and you
me,
begin to
mine.
feel. No, I'm talking about the average
The
citizen.
person.
The average citizen begins to feel that this behavior is justified.
No.
That if you have power, having power includes the right to abuse that power. And that is how COVID was used, the abuse of power. We've sat every day and witnessed the abuse of
I
power.
just keep trying to understand why it perplexes me even more so now. Just wondering why people are settling for accepting that this government
Fair.
are they not working?
Fair.
Like, it bothers
Fair.
me so much. I heard somebody say, they renamed a school after some person that I felt has not contributed extensively to our country's development. And you don't want to be the person to say, oh, you don't want this misogyny, misogynoir, not liking Black women and whatnot. And I asked these people who were having this very strong debate for the renaming of this school after this individual. And they said, oh, you know that she got a trust fund with a lot of money in it and we need the money. And I said, what?
No.
You mean this what we have come to?
Yeah.
That we have lost the essence of our history and our culture, that we will rename one of our schools after an individual.
Because
She's accomplished fantastic things, I suppose, but what has she done for our country? And you say the reason for it is because they got a trust fund with a lot of money, and the money from the trust fund is what's being used to do. So what about the money that the government collecting in taxes? What are supposed to do?
aren't you becoming a little concerned about the plethora of awards and
Prime Minister award.
this regathering
Freedom.
exercise?
Oh, we gathering is all but done. Start
No,
giving it
but
credit.
it has become an opportunity now every month. Or you elect some citizens and you award them. I'm finding it a little embarrassing.
Regret.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people deserve it, but this government is not into awards. This government is into rewards.
We gathering like
And
a pasta
reward implies political,
Mm-mm.
a political gift.
Yes.
And you will exchange that political gift for a vote. Everything is cynical. Everything is intended to capture.
We gathering is a pasta horse, no steak hope on its last breath. I didn't even recognize that there was another one in May. I don't even know where they are. I don't think most people know.
Well, they
what's
started
happening.
the gathering. I think this is St. John's month.
Really?
Yeah, and the Barbados Workers Union held their May Day up there. Again,
Why would you
everything
do
is
that?
so cynical. The marriage between the BWU
Yes.
Barbados
and the
Labour Party.
Barbados Labour
Yeah.
Party, and the head of the BWU. Where does she sit in Parliament?
Where does she sit? Because I
Yeah.
haven't seen her in the few
Yeah.
things that we've been.
Well,
let's be
She
fair.
is in there, but she doesn't say a lot. One way or
So
the next.
We have a comment online from you,
No,
Howard.
we can't.
No, don't read that.
Down to her size.
Don't read that. No, somebody even had the audacity to say, you know, after he was bragging that the only thing he has down pat is a race and play. When people say those
All right,
things,
we're not going there. We made certain pledges last week. at church.
I was just people. That's a very mean thing to say.
One of the sub areas, one of the subtopics we wanted to look at, and we did this before, but let us explore it again.
Yes.
Service over celebrity. And we had said that the government seems interested in creating celebrity status among its members. And it starts with the Prime Minister.
Yes.
They call the Prime Minister celebrity. She travels the world and makes these speeches and gets this attention
And I think that the candidate for the BLP
at
is
the
doing the
expense of
same.
service.
Well,
At the expense of
that's
service.
because
Service
that's
to this country.
the reality
That
of
is the
that.
motive.
It does not say much about you as a leader.
Mhm.
It doesn't say much if that's what you are trying to attain. And it just reminds me of this statement that the Prime Minister made that it's going to be a quick by-election.
Yeah, what did she mean by that?
It has to be quick because it keeps her here. So
Well,
this is the longest we've seen her.
when I heard quick, you know what that reminded me of? Ambush.
Yes,
And I
that
found
as
it very
well.
strange
Yes, I
language.
know.
You're going to do a quick election.
Yes, because they're
You're ambushing
candidate.
the people?
Yeah, not the people. And it's primarily correct because their candidate have been in the field for over a year, as you said, and we have basically 3 weeks to
Yes,
prepare.
Yes.
But
Not
what?
only has he been in the field for a
Right.
year, but he was given office
Yes,
to prepare
correct.
him
For
for this
that's
election.
right.
And I'm saying that is
Yes.
an abuse of
Power, and it is
It is an abuse
corruption
of
too.
power. It is corruption.
It is corruption too.
If you take governmental office, cabinet office, and a seat in the Senate and hand to somebody to enhance his reputation in a constituency, those are public funds.
And
That's
correct.
public office.
That's
That is
true.
not the BLP's money.
No,
That is not the BLP's office. That is public office.
that's what they've
And
been
you
doing.
hand it to somebody. You fly him in from wherever he was. You fly him in here, and at the expense of a lady. And they talk nonsense about this party and ladies.
Mhm.
The lady who, and I'm going to call her name here.
Yeah.
The lady who was Hickson's understudy is a lady called Dr. Reed.
Mhm.
The other lady that suffered at the hands of this tyrannical government
Mhm.
was the senator. What's her name
Crystal
again?
Haynes.
Crystal Haynes.
Mm.
And as I said at the press conference, you don't hear the chorus of protest
No.
from these political scientists or political analysts.
Yeah.
You don't hear it. And what's the explanation for that? Are people afraid?
Mm.
Are people afraid even to tell the truth?
Well,
Are people afraid even to think what is true?
we're not afraid.
We're
And the
not afraid.
Democratic Labor Party is sending a woman,
Precisely.
and we support.
Precisely.
We support, and we have women.
Standing young ladies
Yes.
here tonight representing this party.
Yes, because we believe in our women. We know what they're capable of, and that's what we'll be
Dawn, you
doing.
had another one to read?
Mr. Producer Ramon, we need a longer show so we can have questions and answers and
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
good.
but I think what I'd say here, being some person who happens to be on social media quite a bit, I've seen the smut that they've started to try to perpetuate, and
The insults.
I've looked at the
Yes, sir.
comments over the years. You know, I was away in 2018, so I didn't have the opportunity to see.
I think the
the
producer is
surge in
pointing at
popularity.
another one.
Bridge Boys.
Oh,
They
we
need
need
free workshops, not just classes, because in real spaces, teachers learn from students too.
Mhm,
Young people open up when they feel seen.
mhm.
Give us that space to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich
Thank you
Boys.
for that.
Thank you.
Right?
You were saying, Dawn.
Yeah. So social media, and you see, you live. Let me not make that analogy. I was gonna say you live by something, you die by something, but you choose something to elevate you, and it will be the same thing that brings you down.
Mhm.
So I remember watching from the UK 2018. There was this one comment: "Them's never again."
Yeah. They said, "Them's never, never,
Them's
never."
never again.
one
And,
thing that-
back in 2018, it had about 1,000 likes, 2022, let me say it was down to about 300. I saw it today, not one person.
What?
So everything has been shifted,
Yes.
you see?
Yes.
Because people have now recognized that the Barbados Labour Party really has no plan. They have no
Precisely.
MO.
No,
You know, they don't have people
They
who
never
are
did.
creatively
Mhm,
thinking
precisely.
because they never had a
Precisely.
plan
You know,
of really engaging
You
Barbadians in
talked
a
about,
really
yeah, we're
substantial
coming
way.
to Dr. Anthony coming
Right.
shortly. You talked about a shift, but what I've noticed is that they're psychopaths, I call them psychopaths,
Yeah.
on social media. They're becoming more violent.
yes.
Oh.
Very, very
Yeah.
insulting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Vicious. Yeah, yeah. And that is a sign of desperation.
Yeah.
That is a sign of a
definitely.
government that is in some peril. They
Yeah.
feel that they are in peril.
Yeah.
And what
yeah.
do? Insult you.
Yeah, so I've seen it and I watch it and I see it a lot.
Be calm in the face of it.
Oh no,
As I
it
tell
doesn't
people,
matter. I
you
just
know.
I look and see how things have shifted,
That's
how
the
the
right to say.
commentary has shifted.
How does decency face insult? It continues to be decent
Yeah,
all the
no,
same.
so
Yeah.
And that's the
definitely.
American writer Du Bois.
Yes.
So I think
Yeah. Let's read Dr. Cummings.
I have said before, and I say again, this is an opportunity gifted to the Democratic Labour Party. If I have to join the walk and canvassing for the Honorable Felicia Dujon, I will.
We are canvassing Dr. Cummings on
Thank you.
Saturday, and I hate to say we are gathering. We are convening.
Yeah.
We are convening at Tranks again
Yes.
on
yes,
Saturday morning.
Yes. Yes.
At what time? We have that
We normally start
Harvey
at
Reid?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock again. It would be nice if you have a blue shirt or a yellow shirt,
And you're welcome,
and you're welcome to come and work with
every person.
Yeah. So we
Felicia
believe.
Dujon. I'm about always to call you Dr. Dujon. That's going to happen soon, though.
Yes, wait. Let's keep that in the air.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let us shift to regionalism
Mhm.
as an important program for any Caribbean country.
Mhm.
This issue of regionalism. We've tried to be regionalists before. We've had regionalist institutions. You know, we had federation from 58 to 62. When we tried to join this region, it was political. It was more political than economic. Then we did CARIFTA, then we did CARICOM, and then we did CSME, and we cut off the E and we are at CSM.
Right.
I always argue that our economies will and must do better if we are regionalists, if we are creating economies about 6 million Caribbean people.
Mhm.
And it's so difficult to have a thriving and a vibrant economy among 300,000 here, 200,000 there, and perhaps, as in the case of Trinidad, 1 million, and Jamaica, 4. Is it part of our program? And I want your independent and honest perspectives. Are you regionalists? Do you believe in regionalism?
I absolutely do believe in
Regionalism.
regionalism,
Caribbean integration.
primarily because of how I have seen it bring communities in the UK together.
Perfect.
You know,
Yeah.
in the UK, we are seen as ethnic minorities. You know, they break us down by demographic further when they want to understand where we are from specifically. So
Mhm.
you have Black Caribbean, Black African, Black British, and then if you go further, you have, you know, they ask you specifically where you're from. But in the UK, we are just ethnic minorities, you know, and people have done so much to preserve our Caribbean identity abroad.
Mhm.
So where we concentrate in certain areas.
So you
because
think
we
there's
know-
a Caribbean identity?
Oh, there's a Caribbean
England.
identity. Absolutely.
Is there a Caribbean identity in the Caribbean?
There is a Caribbean identity in the Caribbean.
Interesting. How come you then?
It is there is a Caribbean identity in the Caribbean, yes, but it is to me only seen when we leave
When you
the
leave?
Caribbean.
Or is it amplified when you leave?
I
Because
wouldn't say amplified.
you become part of a disadvantaged community in the metropole, and therefore by necessity you bond together
I see
and
our
achieve
identity
that identity.
as similar to the North Pole, you know, it keeps everything stable.
Mhm, mhm.
For me, when you are living abroad, you remember more of who you are because there's really nothing to show you what that is. You search inside
Mhm, mhm.
and it comes to the forefront and you feel proud to be different and you feel proud to show what you have accomplished as a person coming from a part of the world that most people overlook.
Mhm.
I think for me, what I would love to see in another 5 to 10 years is regional travel become more affordable
Yes, of
and
course.
more accessible,
Regional
where
travel.
our young people, you see, if our young people had the opportunity to hop on a flight for $100 to see another part of the Caribbean, you think that they will be on phones all the time looking at content? They'll be experiencing life.
Mhm.
I am longing to go to St. Lucia.
There you go.
To see what I've heard.
Yeah.
St. Lucia is beautiful,
is.
you know, and I want to be able to see it. And I want other young people to experience traveling outside of Barbados so that they see that life is so much more than, you know, what we tend to see on social media.
Mhm.
You live vicariously through other people. I
Yes.
want our young people to start living life now.
Strong
Because
case for regionalism.
Yeah, we
You're a
had a
regionalist?
I am, yeah.
You are a regionalist. You're a regionalist?
I don't have a choice.
Yes,
I don't. Yes, I. I don't have a choice
wanted to read
because it
something,
is true.
No, I was just gonna add to what Dawn said.
Mhm.
We had a glimpse of this when
with
we had
Bridget.
Red Jet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I
yes.
used to take a lot of time traveling, watching sports, watching cricket.
Okay.
Yeah, so the airfare was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You had time to go and visit other Caribbean islands just to relax,
Mm-hmm.
take in different cultures, different
Yeah.
cuisines, etc. So having an affordable airline
Yes.
is what is needed for that to be achieved.
Yeah, definitely. And we need to think
The
more.
case for regionalism.
Yeah.
Who stopped? Indeed. Indeed.
Mhm.
Liat was Liat 1974. Liat was around here from 1974.
Mm,
And we abandoned Liat. We had a 51% share
Right.
mm.
and we gave it up. And regional travel has not been the same
Get
again.
back to that.
I
Well,
keep
the
considering.
producer says not we.
It's interesting
This
because you know
government
something
stopped
I
Leah.
would love
Yeah.
to see, and hopefully our government,
Yeah,
the
would help.
Democrat Labour Party government, can see this to fruition. But I remember taking the train across Europe.
Mhm.
Can we not build a railway across the Caribbean?
Not yet.
We had
not
a-
yet.
we-
Even if
We had
even
Leah.
if flying
Yeah.
is
We
too
had
expensive.
Liat.
No, but I mean an
I
actual
was doing the case in
underground
Antigua a
train.
couple of years ago and I got on a Liat here.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped off in Grenada, St. Vincent,
Mm-hmm.
about 2 others. And it felt like a bus going. They just stopped. They put
Yeah.
off people. They took on
Yeah,
some.
yeah.
And I got there in time. And that was Liat.
I think a regional railway may be onto something with a regional railway. It can be done.
The airline is cheaper.
Really.
The airline is
Yeah.
far cheaper.
But I think you.
Airfare back then was only like 50 US, sometimes
Yeah,
100 US. It was very affordable.
Yeah, but would it be affordable now in this economy?
Oh,
That's
it
the
can
thing.
be.
We can. We'll
Mm.
see how it. But I wanted to answer the question that you raised. What is Caribbean identity?
Mhm.
And you asked the question.
Do we have a
Do we
Caribbean
have a
identity?
Caribbean? I think we do.
We do.
I think what binds us together is that we share a common history,
Yes.
a common language in
Yes.
some cases.
Yes.
I think in most cases, I remember doing some research on
Not necessarily language. Sorry to cross you. A history of colonialism.
Colonialism.
Because
In terms-
even we have commonality with Guadeloupe
yes,
and Martinique. Language is different,
yes,
and we've made language a barrier.
yes.
But
We're still be
having
able
that
to.
barrier,
Well, not
the
particularly.
colonial experience,
Yes, it's would still allow
joins
us.
But
But I think there's something else that comes in that when you look at our Caribbean identity, it is something that we can immediately make reference to. I believe there was
In the Caribbean.
in the Caribbean, there is it's not just the identity, it's the culture as well that binds us together. We have
Yeah.
common cultures.
Yeah.
So for instance, when we talk about many of the Caribbean islands, we have various superstitions, which may not exist in
Oh, we
other
have
societies.
music,
We have music,
we
but
have
what-
cricket.
yes, but when you talk about the still donkey and you
Mhm.
talk about
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
Barbadian,
yeah.
we have the sukiya and all of these in
Yeah,
the other Caribbean. So because of that historical factor that who we are as a people, and we always tend to say that we just got off the wrong boat. And so the reality is that we have to see what makes you a Caribbean person. What is authentic about us is how we live our lives and how we transcend that to our children, our generation, what we teach them. So when we teach our children morals and values, when we grew up, we couldn't pass an elder not say good morning,
Correct.
good afternoon,
Correct.
yes, thank you, the basics. And I think Caribbean people, we have that because of what our culture has taught us, that kind of identity. So that when we travel to the metropolitan countries and we on the train and you tell somebody good morning, you can immediately see when you're
That's
on
a
the train,
Caribbean fella.
that's a Caribbean person because it's only a Caribbean person which have that kind of
Yeah,
identity. And
yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
what it is. Our, just who we are, how we cook, our Sundays, and I think identity is what makes you who you
And
are,
we
the
will
substance.
push the case
That's-
to Richard Alsop's Caribbean
Yes, yes,
Dictionary.
yes.
Be available in every one of these.
And as they
items.
should, it
That has
should.
joined the
It
Caribbean
should.
in ways
It
that
should.
we have ignored.
It should.
I think the producer wants to play a sound. We have any more
okay.
public notes? A video?
A video,
Okay.
okay. Oh.
Beautiful and resilient constituents of St. James North. I am Felicia Dujon, and I'm the candidate for the DLP, the Democratic Labour Party, in this by-election. In the next couple of days and weeks, I'll be coming to the constituencies, I'll be coming to your communities, where we'll get to speak and discuss the issues that affect you and how I can raise awareness and advocacy on your behalf. As we take the time throughout the next few weeks and the next few days, I urge you, feel free to come to me as I walk through your communities, as I make telephone calls to you. Feel free to share what are some of the concerns that is affecting you, your family members, your neighbors, and of course, persons the most vulnerable within your communities. It is my role and duty to represent your best interests. And as an advocate for education, I have worked with parents, I have worked with teachers, and most importantly, students. As a human rights advocate, I will continue to advocate on your behalf so that no one will infringe on your basic human rights. Please reach out to me. You can call me at 242-7984. I am here to serve you. I am here to walk with you. I will be there at every moment, whether it's in the evening or the day. You can reach out to me because it is my job. I'm requesting your assistance so that I can help you. I am not, as said before, I am not being paid in any way to serve you. I am doing it for the love of humanity and for the love of this country, our beloved Barbados. So please work with me, work alongside me, and we will make the changes that is needed in our constituency. Let us come together and create the history and the future that we want for our children and for ourselves. Thank you.
Excellent. Felicia, where are you canvassing tomorrow?
I will be in Trents tomorrow. I will
We're back
also
in Trents today.
we'll be in Trents. We'll pass and go through Rockdondo as well.
Rockdondo
At
up the
Mullins, yes.
Mullins.
Yes, because as I said before, I need to touch as many houses, as many lives, as many constituents, because I need them to see me. I need them to get to know who I am, to see as a person. It's different. They need to see the humanity.
And the mass canvass on Saturday again?
Yes, please.
Morning.
Yes,
We'll
in the
confirm
morning
this
we'll
with
be there.
Mr. Hartley Reid,
Yes, please.
so that Anthony Cummins can
Join
get
us
his
as
yellow
well.
shirt.
And
or
everyone
blue
is welcome. Everyone is
yeah.
welcome to come
spread the
because
message.
because we have to give the support to St. James North. They're not alone.
Mhm.
We need to show them that they're not alone in this fight.
Thank you very much. This has been a pleasure. Melissa, thank you very much. Dawn, thanks very, very much while you're doing your hair. Felicia, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you tomorrow
Yes,
at
please.
some point,
Yes,
probably in the afternoon.
Yes, I'll be
And
there.
then we will all be there again on Saturday morning
Yes.
at 9:00. We're
Yes.
gathering at Trents,
Yes.
playing field,
Yes.
Maple, the old Maple Club. Thank
We'll
you.
be there. Thank you.
This has been a pleasure. Happy Labor Day to all of you. And normally we're more academic than political. We were as political tonight as we were academic. The election is on, the season is on. So you will not object to us being political tonight. And we will have a show on Tuesday night again, I think, DLP TV. And Thursdays, we're going to do this throughout the campaign, I think. We want to start our meetings. And I want to say to St. James North, I hope we get it done, our spot meetings, maybe spot meetings with a difference. We don't want to come and talk down to people in St. James at our smaller meetings. We will probably have a concept of chairs set in a circle and the members of the community can come out and sit and chat with us. We wouldn't be talking down to you. You'll be conversing with us and tell us what are the problems and we'll be discussing them as equals. We're the politicians. You're the citizens, and we will have a free and fair exchange. We hope to be doing that over the next few weeks during this campaign. We will be innovative we will be intelligent, we'll be honest with the people. Again, happy Labor Day to all Barbadians here and in the diaspora. Good night.
Good night.
See you next
Good
time.
The bee's hope is a man named Chad. Had fancy jobs, the suit looked not too bad. He talked real slick when the media came, but on the streets, he'll forget our names. Potholes deep and the taps run dry. We call his name, but he won't reply. In 7 years, not a thing has changed. Now the people rise, 'cause we've been estranged. Time for a change, let the old ways go. We see the light in the one we know. She walks with us and feels our pain. Felicia Dujon is her name. Vision strong and hands that heal. She listens well and she keeps it real. So gather round, everyone come forth. Vote for Dujon in St. James North. Chad's got stats and fancy plans, but we still have empty pots and pans. He's in the papers, he's on the news, but in our hood, we just feel used. Dujon's walk, whole town square, helping kids with love and care. She don't just talk, she does the work, lifting voices while Chad would shirk. Time for a change, let the old ways go. We see the light in the one we know. She'll walk for us through the sun and rain. Dujon hears and feels your pain. Vision strong, attention surreal. She listens close and she keeps it real. So gather round, let the word be known. We want Dujon on the lower house floor. No more neglect, no more spin. We want a leader who fights to win. Not for power, not for show, but for St. James North, row by row. Final time for a change, let the truth be loud. We're rising up and we're standing proud. With Dujon's light, she'll lead your way to brighter nights and better days. Vision strong and words that heal. She listens well and she keeps it real. So cast your vote and we'll go forth. Dujon will fight for you in St. James North. Felicia Dujon is her name. Vision strong and hands that heal. She listens well and she keeps it real. So gather round, everyone come forth. Vote for Dujon in St. James North.